Breaking news, good news for Biafrans as the Supreme Court finally releases Nnamdi Kanu. A dramatic and historic development has just shaken Nigeria to its core. In a ruling that is already being described as one of the most consequential judicial decisions in recent times, the Supreme Court has overturned previous judgments and ordered the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. The announcement has spread like wildfire across the country. Within minutes, reactions began pouring in from all corners, streets filled with discussions, social media platforms flooded with emotional responses, and political circles thrown into urgent deliberations. From Lagos to Enugu, Abuja to Port Harcourt, Nigerians are glued to their phones, televisions, and radios, trying to grasp the full meaning of what has just happened. For many, this is a moment they have waited years to see. For others, it is a development that raises serious and complex questions about law, governance, and national unity. But regardless of where one stands, there is no doubt that this decision marks a turning point in one of Nigeria's most closely followed legal and political sagas. To understand the weight of this breaking news, it is important to revisit the long and turbulent journey that led to this moment. Nnamdi Kanu rose to national and international prominence as a central figure in the agitation for the restoration of Biafra, a proposed independent state in southeastern Nigeria. Through his broadcasts and public statements, he consistently spoke about perceived marginalization, political imbalance, and the right of people to determine their own future. His message resonated strongly with a large number of supporters, particularly among young people in the Southeast. However, his activities also attracted intense scrutiny from Nigerian authorities. The federal government maintained that certain actions linked to the movement posed risks to national security and could destabilize the country. This fundamental disagreement set the stage for a prolonged confrontation between Kanu and the state. In 2015, he was first arrested by Nigerian authorities. That arrest immediately triggered widespread reactions. Demonstrations erupted in several parts of the Southeast, with supporters demanding his release and insisting that his rights had been violated. At the same time, others argued that the government was justified in taking action to preserve national stability. After spending time in detention, Kanu was eventually granted bail under strict conditions. For a brief period, it appeared that tensions might ease, but that calm did not last long. In 2017, during a military operation in his hometown, Kanu disappeared. His sudden absence created uncertainty and fueled speculation. For months and even years, questions lingered about his whereabouts. Some believed he had left the country for his safety, while others suspected more complex circumstances. The uncertainty came to an end in 2021 when the Nigerian government announced that Kanu had been apprehended abroad and returned to Nigeria. The manner of his return quickly became a subject of international debate. Legal experts, human rights organizations, and political observers raised concerns about the legality of the process used to bring him back. Despite these controversies, the government proceeded with legal action against him. The case moved through the courts, drawing intense public attention at every stage. Each hearing, each argument, and each ruling was closely followed by millions of Nigerians and observers around the world. Eventually, a lower court delivered a judgment that shocked many. Kanu was found guilty on serious charges and sentenced to life imprisonment. That decision sparked another wave of reactions. Supporters described it as unjust and vowed to continue fighting through legal means. His legal team promptly filed appeals, challenging the ruling and seeking a review by higher courts. As the legal battle continued, the case evolved beyond the courtroom. It became a national conversation about deeper issues: justice, fairness, unity, and the nature of Nigeria's democracy. Across the Southeast, community leaders, traditional rulers, and political figures began calling for dialogue as an alternative path forward. They argued that political tensions of this magnitude required more than just legal solutions. Others, however, insisted that the rule of law must remain paramount. They warned that undermining court decisions could weaken the justice system and set dangerous precedents. This divide in opinion intensified the national discourse. Every new development in the case sparked fresh debates, with citizens, analysts, and policymakers offering different perspectives on what should happen next. Amid this atmosphere of uncertainty and anticipation, the appeal reached the Supreme Court, the highest judicial authority in the country. Expectations were high, but few could predict the scale of the impact the final decision would have. Now that decision has been delivered. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court carefully reviewed the legal arguments, the procedures followed throughout the case, and the broader constitutional implications. After thorough deliberation, the court concluded that the previous judgment could not stand. It set aside the life sentence and ordered Kanu's immediate release. The reaction was instantaneous and overwhelming. In many parts of southeastern Nigeria, celebrations erupted. Supporters took to the streets, expressing joy and relief. For them, this moment represents not just the release of a leader but the validation of a long struggle. At the same time, political leaders and analysts across the country began examining the implications of the ruling. Questions are already being raised about what this means for national security, governance, and the future of separatist movements in Nigeria. Some observers see the decision as an opportunity for reconciliation. They believe it could open the door for dialogue between the government and aggrieved groups, potentially easing long-standing tensions. Others view it with caution. They argue that while the court's decision must be respected, it also creates new challenges that will require careful handling to maintain stability. International reactions are also beginning to emerge. Given the global attention the case has attracted over the years, the ruling is likely to influence how Nigeria is perceived on issues of justice, human rights, and the rule of law. Beyond the legal and political implications, there is also a human dimension to this story. After years of detention, legal battles, and uncertainty, Kanu's release marks the end of a long and difficult chapter in his personal journey. For his family and supporters, it is a deeply emotional moment. But even as celebrations continue in some quarters, it is clear that this development raises important questions about the future. What happens next for Nnamdi Kanu? Will there be conditions attached to his release? How will the government respond to the renewed momentum of his supporters? And most importantly, can this moment be used as a starting point for meaningful dialogue and lasting solutions? These questions do not have immediate answers. However, they will shape the next phase of this unfolding story. Nigeria is a diverse nation with many ethnic groups, cultures, and political interests. Managing this diversity has always required a delicate balance. Cases like this highlight the complexities involved in maintaining unity while addressing grievances and ensuring justice. The Supreme Court's decision does not end the conversation, it transforms it. It shifts the focus from the courtroom to the broader political and social landscape. It challenges leaders to think beyond legal battles and consider long-term strategies for peace and stability. As the nation processes this breaking news, one thing is certain: this moment will be remembered for years to come. It is a defining chapter in Nigeria's ongoing journey, a moment that will influence discussions about governance, justice, and national identity. For now, all eyes remain on what comes next. Because in a story as complex and far-reaching as this, today's breaking news is only the beginning of a new phase.